Hey, First Family. It is Pastor David here, and it is time once again to get you something warm and yummy so we can talk some go and tell. And while you're doing that, preparing whatever it is you have to drink, don't forget to please subscribe to this YouTube channel, our Go and Tell YouTube channel, and feel free to comment on this video and also share it with others. It really helps get the information out there and also lets others uh, get updated on what's happening, what God is doing through our Go and Tell ministry here at FBCW. So, uh, before we jump into what we're talking about today, I just wanted to let you know what is my warm and yummy drink. Well, let me grab it here. And this is an instant chai karek ginger drink. This comes in ginger and cardamom, and I'm a sucker for ginger. I love ginger in stuff. I've developed that when we were living in West Africa. And so chai is the Arabic word for tea. So I'll also clue you in on one of my pet peeves is when someone says chai tea. That's redundant. Chai is tea. It's just chai. You don't need to put the tea on the end of it. So this is chai. It is got a ginger flavor, and it's an instant. So you just heat up some water, pour this into your mug, hot water, stir it around, and you're good to go. That is good. All right, enough of what is Pastor David drinking in this video. Let me give you a great update and rundown from our very first family Go and Tell weekend. It was this past Saturday and Sunday. So that was May 3rd and 4th. For those of you who may be watching this later in the future. And let me just tell you, it was a phenomenal weekend. We had two amazing options for our families to serve. And not just the biological family, but the extended church family as well was invited to this. And so the first was here on our campus, and we were co-hosting with our sister church, Pillar Dumfries, the Hope for the Journey Foster Care Conference. And what this is it's a conference put on by Project Belong. And they are one of our big partners here at FBCW in the area of family care, particularly with foster and adoption care. And this is a conference that foster families can attend, and they can get teaching and instruction on how to raise these foster kids, best practices, advice, things like this. And it's all done from a Christian perspective. It's all done from a biblical teaching model. And so many of the foster families that are invited to this, they don't have a church home. They don't have maybe even a religious connection whatsoever, but they are fostering and they want to be able to do this to the best of their abilities. And so we hosted this event on our campus Friday night and all day Saturday. And our role in that was to provide childcare. And there were a bunch of kids. I think we had, let me pull it up here. I can tell you exactly how many. We had a little over 80 children from 2 weeks to 17 years old. That's a big range. And so they were here on our campus. And while they were being cared for by our families, their parents were in these different conference sessions and breakouts and things like that. And it was a great weekend. We had around 100 volunteers from FBCW serve with their families. This is what was so cool about this weekend all the way around was family serving families. So we had mom, dad, and the kids together serving in these ways. And so the child care was not just done by adults, it was done by families. And so a lot of our boys and girls got a chance to serve with their moms and dads and older brothers and sisters in caring for these foster kids. And what a great timing it was for our family Go and Tell weekend with Pastor Josh's sermon from Numbers 26 through 30 about equipping the next generation, because this was an event that allowed us to do just that. So it's amazing how God works that way. He works that way a lot, so we shouldn't be surprised. But hey, there it was, a beautiful picture of how to put this right into action. And so it was a great time. It was busy. If you served, thank you so much. Tons of gratitude from me to you for doing so. It was a busy time, but you guys did so well. In fact, if I may, I want to just read you a little story, a little thank you that was sent in, just that will really let you know how much this was appreciated. This is one of many stories. There were a lot of parents on campus for this event. And so let me just tell you one story. It's not an isolated story. This really represents a lot of what these parents experienced from the conference, but also from you, First Family, as you cared for their kids. This is what one of the moms says. Thank you, thank you, thank you. That, being the conference, was so lovely. In this season of littles and no local family and my husband's random work schedule, we are struggling to keep date nights regular and really not making an effort beyond that. This weekend felt so helpful, so refreshing, so encouraging, and just so extravagant. Great food, goodie bags, time of fellowship with other parents, no kids, candy and flowers, and so many treats. You guys thought of it all. Thank you for taking such good care of us, and thank you for that childcare setup. They were so competent and so gracious. That's you. It was so easy and just a crazy gift to leave our kids with them for the whole day long. Amazing. Just wanted to say thank you. Feel so freshly inspired and encouraged for this journey. I love it. That is a great testimony from one of the moms that attended this weekend. And part of her testimony is the child care, is that we connected with these kids in a way that blessed these parents. And so while these parents were being taught, and they were taught from a Christian perspective, clear biblical teaching, their kids, again, many of whom don't have a church background or a church connection, they were seeing the gospel being lived out in the lives and in the words of our families who were serving. And so you took what you know about Christ and you put it into action, and your due was to live out your faith as you cared so well for these kids with the love of Christ. So it was an amazing weekend. Thank you guys so much. And while that was happening here on campus, about 25 of us went up to Baltimore, Maryland, to our Send Relief partner, the Transformation Center. This is a community center that is in the Brooklyn neighborhood. I mean, right in the heart of the Brooklyn neighborhood in South Baltimore. It is a low-income area. There's a lot of poverty, homelessness, and a lot of the other issues that come with a low-income community like Brooklyn. And the Transformation Center has been serving in some capacity, some way, for like 30 years. And one of the great ways that they serve us as a church is they get to impart to us incredible knowledge of what is it like to build long-term transformational relationships in a community. Anybody can do transaction, but as Christians, we're about transformation. You've heard me say it on this channel before. And Transformation Center is just a great way. So Brian and his daughter Mallory, they run that center along with Reds, who is over the TC Print operation there at the center. And they have such a heart for Christ, such a heart for the people. They are working so hard to see Jesus glorified through the making of disciples, through the long-term care and relationship building and gospel proclamation that happens at the Transformation Center. And again, this was another opportunity where families got to serve together side by side. And it's always so touching. I've known this for a long, long time. One of the best things a family can do is serve together. If you want to go closer in your relationship with Jesus, if you want to go deeper in what does it mean to be on mission, then serve as a family. You put your kids, whether they are 7 years old or 17 years old, right beside you, and you serve together in what God is doing. And that's what happened here on campus and at the Transformation Center in Baltimore. And so it was a full day of prepping for the food distribution and then serving as over 150 families came through to receive food for that week so that they could just make ends meet and feed their family. It's a busy time, but we still had opportunities to kind of slow that pace down a little bit and connect with some of the folks, help them carry groceries to their car, maybe to their house, and things of that nature. But then from there, we were able to then also help with some of the other projects that they needed done to do some prep work and pre-packaging for the next food distribution time the following Saturday, but also had a wonderful tour of the facility and just got to hear the story of how God brought the Transformation Center about. And let me just give you some takeaways from our time at the Transformation Center. One is the importance of proximity. What makes Transformation Center work is not what they do. It's first and foremost the fact that they are right in the midst of the community that they seek to serve. They don't drive in and then drive out. They're there 24/7, 365, serving that community. And so one thing that churches sometimes make a mistake in doing, they've got a big heart, they want to serve, but they don't have a particular clientele, so to speak, around them. And so they go elsewhere to where that clientele is. And what that does is it just sort of creates this kind of drive-by mentality where you kind of come in, you're the hero for a day, and then you leave. But you're not there for the messiness of life. The Transformation Center is there for the messiness of life. The people that came through for the food ministry, they've been coming through there. They know who the people are at TC, and they know them. In fact, some of the volunteers that we served alongside with, they once stood in that food distribution line, and through that ministry, they came to know Christ. They got plugged into the church, and now they're serving and giving back to the very ministry that brought them to faith in Jesus Christ. That's a beautiful thing. That doesn't happen overnight. Like I said, they've been there for around 30 years doing this, daily in the trenches, building relationship. Proximity matters. So it's not what do you want to do as much as it is who do you need to serve, who is next to you, who has God put in your proximity, and then what are their needs. So rather than looking to see what others are doing, look to what God has given you first. And the next thing is longevity. This doesn't happen overnight, as I said. It took 30 years for them to get to where they are because they made the commitment to put down the deep roots and play the long game. Too often, I think churches, they want immediate results. It's very American of us. We want to check a box. We're very task-oriented. We want to see results quick. But when it comes to gospel-driven compassion ministry, it is the long game. You got to stick it out, and that's what Transformation Center does. And the last thing I'll mention about Transformation Center, one of the great lessons that we learned there is that it's not about the quantity of what you do, but it's about the quality of what God has given you to do. Too often, ministries like that and even churches think that the more they do, the better it is. In fact, I remember one time when we were serving in New Orleans, there was a community ministry center that boasted that they did every week 72 different ministries. And I can tell you from my own personal experience, multiple times being involved with that ministry, they did not do 72 ministries, number one. Number two, what they did do, they did not do well because they had stretched themselves so thin because they thought that quantity equaled good, equaled what God wanted, what honored him, what glorified him. And in the end, sadly, because they had missed their focus, eventually that ministry center, after decades of being in operation, had to shut down because they had become irrelevant in that community because they did nothing well. Transformation Center doesn't do a lot. If you talk to Brian, if you talk to Mallory, you realize there's only a few things, 2 or 3 things that they actually do, but they do those things well. They put their effort into those things. And when certain needs or issues come up, they're aware of those. They may prayerfully consider those, but because they want to do quality work with deep relationships that help them share the gospel, they have said no to a lot of opportunities because you know why? They have a mission, they have a vision, and they stay true to that. That's a great lesson for churches like ours to learn. It's not about how much we do, it's about doing the few things well in the place and with the people that God has given us. And so this weekend was amazing with all the service through childcare at Hope for the Journey and just getting there shoulder to shoulder with the Transformation Center, seeing what they did, participating in it, hearing their story of how God has worked through them, and for me, serving with you. I was at Hope for the Journey Friday night. I was with the crew all day Saturday at Transformation Center. My heart was full when I pulled away from the Transformation Center there in Baltimore. And my heart was full joining you for worship Sunday, and especially as we heard that wonderful message about the next generation. I was like, there we go. What a great way to get this thing off and going is to come right on the heels of our first ever Family Go and Tell weekend. It was amazing. This won't be the last time we do something like this. This was a huge success. The next Family Go and Tell weekend will probably look different. When will it be, Pastor David? Don't know yet. We're going to pray about that, and we'll find a time when we can do this again. But this is something that we want to build into the DNA of what it means to be a member at First Baptist, is that you have opportunities to serve with your family on mission, doing the very thing that God has called each Christian to do, and that is make disciples of all nations. So be on the lookout for more opportunities, just like Family Go and Tell weekend, but it doesn't have to always be Family Go and Tell weekend. There are a multitude of opportunities that we have available to you here through the church, through our various ministries, through things like our family care ministry that help put on the Hope for the Journey conference, but also our Nations Next Door ministry, which reaches out to immigrants and refugees. There's tons of needs. We have our sports ministry that uses our love for sports and recreation to connect with people and point them to Jesus Christ. And so lots of ways right here locally that we get to impact the nations through Love Local and through opportunities even to cross into other territories and nations and bring the gospel to the unreached. We are building a Go and Tell ministry that gives you the opportunity to be involved in all of that without stretching ourselves thin, keeping focused, staying on mission, keeping the vision in front of us. And so if you would like to know more about, hey, how can I be involved in Go and Tell? I'm going to put a link in the description because guess what? Our new Go and Tell brochures just came in this last week. We hope to have them for Go and Tell celebration, but trucks, stuff, whatever. I don't know. They didn't make it in time, but this is a great piece. It explains what Go and Tell is right on the back, and then there's this QR code that you can scan to then get more information about all the various ways that we at FBCW do Go and Tell. So check that out, and I can't wait to see you out there as we're on mission together, making disciples of all nations.